Everything begins within. Before anything is seen, touched, or experienced in the outer world, it exists first in the unseen realm of imagination. This invisible power is not a fantasy or escape from reality. It is the very source of reality. The chair you sit on, the clothes you wear, the building you're in. Each of these things existed first as an idea in someone's mind before it took form. What many overlook is that this same creative process is at work in our personal lives, constantly shaping circumstances, relationships, and outcomes. When you imagine something vividly and consistently, with emotional conviction, you plant a seed in the fertile soil of your subconscious. This inner world doesn't question whether it's real or not. It simply accepts what is impressed upon it through feeling, repetition, and belief. The outer world responds accordingly, rearranging itself to reflect the dominant pictures held within. That's why daydreams that are dismissed as just thoughts can become experiences when they are charged with belief and feeling. This is not about wishing for something and hoping it shows up. It's about understanding that imagination is an active power. It's not idle. Every image you create with intention and feeling has a trajectory. It sets a direction for your life. The mistake many make is imagining what they don't want, replaying worst-case scenarios, holding grudges through mental arguments, envisioning failure or rejection. These two are seeds. The subconscious doesn't differentiate. Whatever you habitually dwell on with emotion becomes the pattern you walk into. To use imagination deliberately is to engage the same creative mechanism used to shape the world. Only now you are choosing the blueprint. You can close your eyes and step into a new reality. You can see yourself in possession of your goal. You can walk in the scene, feel the environment, smell the air, hear the sounds. You can rehearse success until it becomes more familiar than doubt. The more real it feels within, the sooner it must show up without. Your current circumstances are not a life sentence. They are a printout of former thoughts and imaginal acts. When you understand that imagination creates reality, you stop reacting and start designing. You no longer look at the world as something happening to you, but something happening through you. You become aware of your creative authority. You stop waiting for signs, and you start becoming the sign. And the beautiful truth is, you're not waiting for it, it's already responding. Every mental image, when fused with feeling, is a silent decree, and the universe obeys without question. To live in the end means to mentally and emotionally occupy the state where your desire is already fulfilled. It is not wishful thinking or hoping that something will happen in the future. It is the conscious decision to enter the experience of having it now, even before it shows up in the outer world. This is not denial of present circumstances, but a shift in inner focus, a relocation of your identity from someone who wants to someone who has. When you live in the end, you no longer chase your desire. You become the version of yourself for whom it's already true. This approach bypasses doubt and impatience, because you are no longer trying to make it happen. You are dwelling in the reality where it already has. Your conversations, your feelings, your self-talk, everything begins to reflect that new state. You're not pretending, you're claiming. You're not looking forward with longing, you're looking around with awareness. The mind doesn't resist what it accepts as already done, and when you feel that naturalness, the subconscious takes it as a fact and begins orchestrating your world to match it. What most people do is live in the longing. They feel the absence of what they want and rehearse that absence daily through thoughts of lack, frustration, or disbelief. But this only strengthens the state of not having. The key is to shift your inner atmosphere, to think from the wish fulfilled, not of it. When you think from it, you ask different questions, you make different decisions, and you radiate a different energy. You stop needing confirmation and start acting in quiet certainty. Living in the end is a silent inner conviction. It's the feeling that says, it's already mine, without the need to shout it or prove it. You walk differently. You speak with calm. You move with confidence, not because of what you see, but because of what you know to be real within. The outer world is simply catching up. You may not know how it will unfold. That's not your job. Your responsibility is to maintain the state, to persist in the assumption, to return to it again and again until it becomes more natural than the old story. And the more you live from the end, the more life bends in your favor, not through force, but through the silent pull of alignment. Persistence over proof is the unwavering choice to continue believing in the unseen reality, regardless of what the outer world currently reflects. It is the refusal to be swayed by appearances, the discipline of remaining loyal to the inner vision, even when there is no external evidence to support it. This is the place where true creation happens, not when things are obvious, but when they are invisible and yet you continue to hold your ground. The world might offer delay, contradiction, or even opposition, but none of that matters when you are rooted in the knowing that your desire is already unfolding. Most people get discouraged when they don't see immediate signs. They interpret delay as denial, or lack of confirmation as failure. But manifestation doesn't operate on the timeline of human impatience. It works by law, and the law responds to your inner state, not your doubt, not your worry, not your need to see something now. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You water it, nurture it, and persist in the knowing that it will emerge. The same applies here. What you assume with feeling and persist in will harden into fact. The mistake many make is abandoning the state too soon. They ask for the desire, visualize it for a few days, and then start scanning the outer world for proof. If they don't see it, they fall back into doubt. But the creative process isn't moved by how quickly something appears. It's moved by how consistently you hold the vision. The moment you start needing proof, you affirm its absence. You shift your focus from fulfillment to lack, and the energy weakens. But when you persist, quietly, faithfully, internally, you are signaling that it is already done. Persistence is not loud. It doesn't need to be frantic. It is quiet power, a calm decision to stay in the desired state no matter what. You get up each day and mentally return to the scene you've claimed. You feel it, occupy it, walk in it. You speak as though it's already true, not to convince others, but because you know who you are now. This is not about pretending or faking. It's about remaining loyal to the unseen. You may be tempted to give up. You may question whether it's working. But in those moments, you remind yourself that every time you persist, you deepen the groove in consciousness. You're not forcing the outcome, you're embodying it. And even if the world takes time to reflect it, you trust the process. The outer world has no choice but to reflect what you persist in believing. Feeling is the secret because it is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, the key that unlocks the door to manifestation. Thought alone, without emotion, is weak and hollow. It is the feeling behind the thought that gives it life, direction, and form. You do not manifest what you simply think. You manifest what you feel to be true. When a thought is fused with deep emotion, it impresses itself upon the subconscious mind, and from there it begins to shape your external world. The subconscious does not respond to logic or repetition alone. It responds to conviction, to belief felt in the body, to emotion experienced as truth. That's why two people can affirm the same thing, but only one sees results. The difference is not the words, but the feeling behind them. When you enter a state of being where the desired outcome feels natural, familiar, and real, your subconscious accepts it without resistance. And once accepted, it begins to move all things necessary to bring that inner feeling into outer fact. Many people try to manifest from the neck up. They visualize, they script, they say affirmations. But if the dominant feeling within is doubt, fear, or lack, the result will reflect that. You cannot deceive your inner world. You may say one thing with your mouth, but if your feeling contradicts it, the feeling will always win. That is the true language of creation. Not words, but feelings, deeply held and consistently nurtured. To deliberately use feeling is to embody the state of the wish fulfilled. It means going beyond mental images and stepping into the sensation of already having, already being, already living the experience you desire. It means relaxing into the version of yourself who no longer needs, because they already possess. And the more you can generate that feeling, the faster reality begins to shift to mirror it. This is why gratitude is powerful, not because it's a nice habit, but because it evokes the feeling of already receiving. When you feel grateful for something before it arrives, you align with the version of yourself who has already received it. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined with feeling. It only knows what you dwell in emotionally. And that emotional dwelling becomes the seed of your next experience. You don't need to know every step. You don't need to chase or beg or force. You need only to return again and again to the feeling of the end fulfilled. Let it become your inner home. Let it saturate your thoughts, your moods, your reactions. When you truly feel it, the world must catch up. The feeling always leads the form. Your world reflects your inner state because life is not happening to you, it is happening through you. What you consistently feel, believe, and accept within becomes the mirror that shapes your outer experience. This reflection is not always immediate, but it is always accurate. The people you meet, the opportunities that arise, the challenges you face, they all reveal the dominant tone of your internal world. If there is chaos within, there will be chaos around. If there is peace, confidence, and certainty within, life begins to mirror those qualities in unexpected and often miraculous ways. This is not a matter of blame, but of awareness. It means that if something unwanted continues to appear, the solution is not to fight the condition, but to examine the state of being from which you are perceiving it. When your inner conversations are filled with doubt, criticism, fear, or regret, those feelings begin to filter the way you see and interpret the world. Even positive events will seem uncertain or short-lived if your inner state is anchored in lack or fear of loss. But if your inner world is filled with gratitude, self-assurance, and clarity, even challenges will seem manageable, and solutions will appear where there once were only problems. Everything begins with state. You attract not what you want, but what you are. And what you are is determined by the mental and emotional atmosphere you dwell in. You may try to change the outside, your job, your relationships, your surroundings, but if the inner state remains the same, the new outer conditions will eventually take the shape of the old inner pattern. True transformation doesn't come from rearranging surface appearances. It comes from shifting the source, from upgrading the inner narrative that runs silently beneath every word, action, and decision. This is why some people seem to effortlessly attract what they desire while others struggle. The difference is in the state they inhabit. One is moving from a sense of wholeness and already being, the other from a sense of waiting, hoping, or resisting. When you align your inner world with the version of yourself who already has what you seek, life begins to mold itself to that image. The people change, the conversations change, the timing aligns, it all responds to you. Now, the good news is you are never stuck. At any moment, you can step into a new state. You can close your eyes and drop into the feeling of calm, joy, or success, no matter what is going on outside. And as you persist in that new feeling, the outer world begins to mirror it, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. The reflection can only show you what you are inwardly being, and when the being changes, the mirror must follow. The law is impersonal and exact, meaning it does not respond to who you are as a person, but to the state you occupy. It does not favor the good over the bad, the worthy over the unworthy, or the hopeful over the doubtful. It simply mirrors back what you are being, what you truly believe and feel to be true within yourself. Like the law of gravity, it operates consistently and without judgment. Whether you are aware of it or not, you are always using it, always expressing a state, and always receiving the results of that state. There is no exception to this principle. Every outcome you experience is a direct result of a state you have assumed, consciously or unconsciously. The law is exact, meaning it does not miss or misinterpret. It brings to life not what you beg for, not what you intellectually desire, but what you internally consent to as real. If you are entertaining feelings of lack, fear, or failure, even if you speak affirmations of success, the law responds to the deeper feeling, not the surface word. It is precise in its execution. This truth can be confronting because it removes excuses. It forces you to take responsibility for your experience. But it is also liberating because it means you have full creative power. You are not waiting for someone else to change your circumstances. You are not a victim of luck or randomness. You are dealing with a principle that is neutral and unfailing. The moment you shift your state, the law begins to move accordingly. There may be a delay in its outer expression, but the change has already occurred the moment you changed within. Because the law is impersonal, it does not take into account what you deserve based on your past, your appearance, your background, or your mistakes. It only responds to your current assumption. This means that at any moment, you can assume a new identity, a new reality, and the law will begin aligning events, people, and circumstances to support it. There is no partial credit and no room for half-belief. You either occupy the state or you do not, and the results will always reflect that. Precision is built into the nature of this law. Just as a mirror reflects exactly what stands before it, the law reflects exactly what you feel and accept within. It does not get confused or delay for dramatic effect. When the inner state is stable and consistent, the outer world must shift in time. But if the inner state is mixed, oscillating between doubt and faith, the outer world remains chaotic or stuck. Not as punishment, but because it is reflecting the instability of your own assumption. This principle does not respond to emotion alone, but to the combination of emotion and belief, a union that forms conviction. Once you are fully convinced of something, once you emotionally accept it as true, the law begins its work without fail. It may not happen in the way you expect, but it will happen with mathematical accuracy. What you see in your world is not personal, It is precise. Revision rewrites reality because the subconscious mind does not distinguish between what actually happened and what is vividly imagined with feeling. Every experience, especially those charged with emotion, leaves an imprint on your inner world, but that imprint is not permanent. You have the power to go back mentally and reimagine an event differently, and in doing so, alter the way it continues to influence your present and future. This is not about lying to yourself or pretending something didn't happen. It's about choosing a new meaning, a new emotional tone, a new outcome, and allowing that new version to take root within. What you call the past is not fixed. It lives on only as a memory, and memory is fluid. It's shaped by perception, by interpretation, and by the feelings you associate with it. When you revise a past moment, you are changing its effect on your self-concept. You are dissolving the emotional charge that may be holding you back, and replacing it with a state that empowers you. For the subconscious, the revised scene becomes just as real as the original, and since your current state is built upon accumulated past impressions, a new impression alters your trajectory. This is especially powerful when it comes to recurring patterns. If you keep attracting similar outcomes, rejection, loss, disappointment, it may be because an unhealed past event is still active in your vibration. By revisiting that moment and seeing it indifferently, by feeling a new conclusion and embodying the person who came out stronger, happier, and supported, you break the loop. You replace the old echo with a new tone, and your world begins to echo back the new version. Revision is not limited to major life events. It can be used daily, even hourly. A conversation that upsets you, a missed opportunity, a negative reaction. These are all candidates for revision. You simply go back in imagination and replay the scene, but this time the words are different. The energy is calm. The outcome is what you wish it had been. And you feel the new version until it settles into your being. The important part is not whether it really happened that way, but whether you can accept it inwardly as if it had. The power of revision lies in its ability to change the present. By altering how you see the past, you shift how you feel now, and your current feeling state is what creates your future. You are not a prisoner of what was. You are the author, and the story is still being written. With the revision, you reclaim authorship. You say, this is how that chapter ends, and your subconscious begins to build from that foundation. Even deeply rooted beliefs can be rewritten, because belief itself is nothing more than repeated assumption that can be revised. This practice is not about denial. It's about redemption. It's about giving yourself the chance to experience the freedom of a life no longer shaped by pain, regret, or limitation. And the more you revise, the more natural it becomes to respond in the present from a healed, empowered state. You begin to notice that things don't trigger you the same way. You feel more in control, more centered, because you've changed the script. The past no longer defines you. It supports you. And life, ever faithful to your inner world, responds in kind. The bridge of incidents is the unseen path your reality takes to bring your assumption into physical form. Once you have assumed the state of the wish fulfilled, once you feel and believe that your desire is already yours, life begins to rearrange itself to support that new reality. But this process often unfolds in ways the rational mind cannot predict. It doesn't always look magical or extraordinary. It can appear as a series of ordinary events, conversations, or decisions that, when looked at in hindsight, clearly led to the manifestation. You are not required to know how it will happen. That is not your role. Your role is to enter and persist in a state where it already has happened. From there, life takes over, and the bridge begins to form beneath your feet. People you never expected to hear from might suddenly reach out. A cancellation could create space for the right opportunity. A delay you found frustrating might turn out to be the exact redirection you needed. Everything begins to shift, not randomly, but in exact response to the state you've claimed within. These incidents may not always feel connected at first. They might even seem like obstacles or setbacks. But if you remain faithful to your assumption and don't waver based on appearances, you will come to see that every step, no matter how strange or inconvenient, was necessary to carry you to your desired outcome. The bridge may test your patience, but it never betrays the law. It unfolds perfectly in accordance with your inner conviction. Often people give up in the middle of the bridge because they can't recognize it. They assume things are going wrong when in truth the law is working with precision. A job loss, a breakup, or a sudden shift in circumstances can feel like a disruption. But if the desire is held firmly and the inner state remains aligned, those moments are just part of the unfolding. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is accidental. The moment you move into a new state of consciousness, a new chain of events is set in motion. Events that may not flatter the ego, but will always serve the manifestation. This bridge doesn't require effort or force. It requires surrender and trust. You walk it by responding from the state of the wish fulfilled. You act not from anxiety or urgency, but from alignment. You speak from the knowing that what you want is already yours, even when the outer world has yet to reflect it. Each step you take becomes part of the bridge, and it is only when you look back that you realize how perfectly it was constructed. The bridge of incidents is the law's way of remaining natural in its operation. It doesn't break the rules of the world, it uses them. It weaves together the people, places, and situations that align with your assumed reality, and it does so with elegance and intelligence, often surprising you with its creativity. You don't need to manipulate outcomes or chase after things. You only need to remain loyal to your new state, and the bridge will carry you, moment by moment, decision by decision, until what was once only imagined becomes undeniable fact. There is no separation between you and your desire, because the moment you imagine something with feeling, you have already created it in consciousness. The desire itself is not something outside of you that must be earned, chased, or begged for. It is a reflection of a state that already exists within you. The very fact that you can conceive of it means you are capable of embodying it. What appears to be distance between you and the thing you want is only the illusion created by time and perception. In truth, the desire and its fulfillment are one. The moment you enter the state of the wish fulfilled, when you feel yourself to already be the person who has or is what you want, the bridge between you and that desire dissolves. You are no longer longing for it, you are living from it. The inner shift is what creates the outer movement. The desire doesn't come from a place of lack. It is a message, a signal of your deeper identity trying to express itself. It's not something to reach for, it's something to realize. The only real separation is the belief that it's not already yours. When you believe that your desire is separate from you, you reinforce the idea of distance, and you begin to think and feel from the position of lack. That state of lack delays the manifestation, not because you are being punished or denied, but because the law is exact and only reflects your present assumption. But the moment you stop placing the desire in the future and begin to claim it in the present, emotionally, mentally, and energetically, you collapse that imagined distance, and the world responds accordingly. You are always one assumption away from its fulfillment. Nothing needs to happen outside for the shift to begin. You don't need to become worthy or prepare more or wait until conditions are perfect. You only need to accept, deeply and sincerely, that it is already yours. When this becomes natural to you, when you feel it as a quiet knowing rather than a hopeful wish, you start to see evidence of its truth everywhere. Reality bends to reflect your inner state, and your desire, once seen as distant, becomes part of your everyday experience. This is why waiting is unnecessary. Waiting implies separation. Hoping often implies lack. But claiming implies unity. You are not creating something new. You are selecting a state that already exists within the infinite possibilities of consciousness. The desire was never outside of you. It has always been a part of your inner self, calling you to recognize it. Once you do, once you merge with it in thought and feeling, the outer world cannot help but show you what you already know to be true. Now is the appointed time, because the moment you decide to fully embrace your desire as already fulfilled, the universe responds without delay. There is no waiting period imposed by some external force or cosmic schedule. Time, as we commonly understand it, is a construct of the mind, and the creative power you hold exists beyond it. The when you have been searching for is not in some distant future. It is always in the present moment, ready for you to claim. The shift happens the instant you align your thoughts and feelings with the reality you wish to experience. Many people postpone their manifestation by convincing themselves that conditions need to be right, or that they need to prepare more. They say, I will be happy when, or I will be successful when. This thinking puts the goal in the future and creates unnecessary delay. But true power lies in knowing that what you want is already here in the now, invisible to the senses but real in consciousness. The appointed time is not something you must wait for. It is something you recognize and accept as you step into your new state of being. When you understand this, impatience and doubt lose their grip. You stop looking outward for signs and instead turn inward to the feeling of fulfillment. That feeling is the signal that you have entered the appointed time. You begin to live as though what you desire is already a fact. Your language changes, your attitude shifts, and your energy moves in harmony with the outcome. This alignment acts like a beacon, drawing circumstances, people, and opportunities that match your new reality. The appointed time is not about force or struggle. It is about surrender and faith. You surrender your need to control every detail and trust the intelligence of the creative process. You have done the inner work, imagining, feeling, believing, and now you allow the law to work through you. The process is exact, and while it may not unfold in the way you expect, it will be perfect for your highest good. Your role is to remain steady, persistent, and confident in the now. Recognizing that now is the appointed time also means embracing the present moment fully, without resistance or distraction. It means stopping the mental debates, the second-guessing, and the not-yet mentality. It means stepping into the awareness that the reality you desire is already in motion because you have already decided it is so. The world may still appear unchanged, but your inner world has shifted, and that is the true beginning of all manifestation. The power to transform your life lies not in waiting for the perfect moment, but in recognizing that the perfect moment is now. When you embody the reality of your desire, feeling it, believing it, living it within you, you activate the unstoppable force that brings your vision into existence. The law is precise, the bridge is forming, and every step you take from this place of knowing moves you closer to what you have already claimed. There is no separation, no delay, no outside approval needed. Your inner state is the seed, and now is the fertile ground where it blossoms. So stand firmly in this truth. What you want is already yours, manifesting right now. Claim it boldly, persist with unwavering faith, and watch as your world rearranges itself to reflect the magnificent reality you have embraced.